Hey, what's up everybody, it's S-Dot. So if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I didn't grow up around firearms, so I didn't know much about them. My only reference was YouTube and the internet. So I watched countless videos on which one to buy first, and ultimately I settled on this Glock 19 since it's big enough for home defense, but it's small enough to EDC. It's like the perfect size pistol in my opinion. And since I like this one so much, I've pretty much been buying Glocks ever since, as you can see here. And this isn't all the Glocks I've owned. I've owned a couple of 43s, a couple of 26s, but I traded those in to get a few other items. Now, when I was doing my research, I was basically told that, Glocks were the standard.
Keep that in your suit unless I tell you to take it out.
Get yourself a Glock, lose that nickel-plated sissy pistol.
Glocks have been documented of going, thousands and thousands of rounds without failure. I've even heard of Glocks, never being cleaned, but still running like a 1990s Honda Civic. I thought Glock was infallible, perfection if you will. In fact, I've owned Glocks for probably the better part of 10 years, and I've probably shot, I don't know, maybe 10,000 rounds through them. And I've never experienced a failure or a malfunction, that is, until last week. Now, this was the first range trip after changing the sights on this Glock 43. I had a failure to eject.
You don't find that suspicious?
So now I no longer feel 100% comfortable with this EDC, because if the hit the fan or if something went wrong, I don't know that I could actually rely on this pistol. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go back to my tried and true Glock 19 MOS.
Stop it. Get some help.
Now I'm just messing around. I honestly think that I can attribute, this malfunction to two possible things. The first was the ammo that I was using, because there's no possible way I'm gonna be blaming Glocks for any kind of malfunction. That would absolutely be blasphemy. Now the ammo that I was using that day when I had the malfunction was from Monarch. I found it on sale a few months ago at Academy. I even made a few shorts videos about them, and I got a bunch of comments since then about people complaining about malfunctions. In fact, the reviews online were actually decent, but there were reports of people, basically complaining about, inconsistencies. Now, full disclosure, I've gone through probably, I don't know, maybe 200, maybe 250 rounds through this brand, and I haven't had any issues. But it's not lost on me that my first malfunction came down to a brand that I don't normally use. So I typically use either, Blazer Brass or Federal. Sometimes I'll use Winchester, and I normally use, obviously you can see here, 115 grain or 124 grain, full metal jacket, nothing special, just basic cheap range ammo. I think the pack of 50 was like 10 bucks, so it was actually pretty cheap. And because it was so inexpensive, I gave it a try. And ultimately, I haven't really had any issues, like I said. That was until the other day. Now, would I buy them again? Honestly, I probably think I would. This is just range ammo, so one malfunction and like probably, I don't know, 300 rounds isn't bad, at least in my opinion. Now, if I see it on sale again, I'll probably pick more up. However, if I start having more malfunctions, then I might reassess. But again, this is just plinking ammo, so I'm okay with imperfection if it saves me a few bucks. The other thing that might have caused the malfunction is the Cerakote. Now, this Glock 43 did not come from the factory in this color. It was actually Cerakoted by either it was a third party or maybe the distributor did it. Either way, this did not come from the factory. So the change in tolerance from the paint might have actually impacted the mag well. Because of this, my magazines, they basically get stuck or they get hung up on something, when I insert them. One of the magazines is actually worse than the other one. You can see here, I think it's this one. You can see the material is starting to come up. It's causing it to get hung up when I insert it in the mag well. Now, I hope you can actually see what I'm talking about. It's pretty small, but it is noticeable in person. This one is definitely worse than this one. And again, this one sticks pretty bad when you're sticking it in the mag well. I remember when I first got this 43, the magazine didn't slide in as fluid as what I'm used to. It kind of gets hung up sometimes when you're sliding it in. You see how it's getting hung up right there? Kind of have to push through it. Now, I originally chalked this up to maybe this being a single stack and maybe that this was just different than, all the other Glocks. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking something might be off with the tolerance inside, or something might have been installed incorrectly once they put everything back together after the Cerakote job. Now, the malfunction that I had was with this specific magazine, so I'll keep an eye on it over the next few range trips to see if I have any more issues with this one or if I start having issues with both. Now, if I have any more malfunctions, then I'll probably have to take this apart and put it back together.
Cap.
Now let me stop lying. If this needs to be taken apart, I'm gonna go ahead and take it to a gunsmith because I'm not about that life. Now I will say that I'm gonna continue carrying this because I feel comfortable with it since I probably have, I don't know, 750 to maybe 1,000 rounds through it with just that one failure. And honestly, that was with the bum magazine and potentially, you know, obviously not the greatest ammo. But if you guys have any ideas or suggestions on, you know, what could have caused that, you know, please drop me a comment, because I'm curious to know if you've run into any issues like that and what you did to correct it or how you addressed it. But that's pretty much all I got. So my Glock is no longer perfect, which no firearm is, but this is definitely not perfect anymore. But other than that, I'm still gonna carry it, still love it until I have more issues. Then I might retire it and get something else. All right, that's all I got. I'll catch you guys in the next one.